What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Coangler Chronicles. I want to thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Ty. Appreciate everyone that's been tuning into the podcast thus far. It is available on all streaming platforms, so Amazon, Google, wherever you get your podcasts at, Spotify. And if you happen to hear that wonderful noise in the background, that is my son. He loves it when the camera comes on, and he's always got something to say. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I certainly appreciate each and every one of you. The most recent episode is doing really well. Episode right before that is doing really well, so be sure to go back and check those out. I actually have a playlist listed in the description below that you guys could check out for the other podcasts. I'll have that listed below. Also, too, if you could check out before I dive in, today's episode is going to be a pretty good one. It's a pretty hot topic in the fishing industry right now, and of course, as I do these, you don't see a guest here. It's going to be me holding up a couple baits, talking some interesting topics here myself. So no guests, but with these ones, I do have some links in the bottom in the description box as well. Like I said, I have the playlist there, but also I will have the links to a couple of companies that I'm working with at this time, and I certainly would appreciate if you guys click on those, take a look at that. In particular, Grundens, that's one of the companies I'm working with now. They got some great products. I'll be demonstrating and showing a couple of things that I got from them here as well very soon. And also be sure to check out Fiverr. That's another place as well that a lot of these ideas that I've had in my head have been able to come to light. Just hopping on Fiverr, getting a little bit of assistance with kind of streamlining what it is that I'm trying to do. And I was able to get some projects done that have taken me a while to actually get done. I was able to get them done by going to Fiverr. So if you got a moment, be sure to click on those links. I certainly appreciate your support. It really just helps us so I can keep making these videos, coming up with these ideas, talking about these topics, things like that. And I certainly love to do it, and I love to continue to do it. So I certainly appreciate any support in regards to that. So be sure to check out those links. Be much appreciated. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. So as you guys may have clicked on the video and been like, not this guy again. Yes, it's me again. Okay, I'm back. I got more to say, and I love it to kind of tackle some of these things like that. So in the most recent news in the fishing industry, one of the things that's kind of been going out there, and I personally have experience doing this myself, so it's something I feel like I can definitely talk about. So I'm going to kind of just read it to you guys, and if you're tuned in on the podcast, I certainly appreciate that. Listening to it, if you're watching it live, I certainly appreciate that as well. So I want to kind of read to you guys a post here that I saw, and kind of kicked up a lot of things, some deep seated things for people here, some topics that people kind of touch on, they kind of brush off, they kind of touch on, brush off. You kind of, depends on who you talk to, you're going to get a different opinion, that type of thing. So I'm going to read the post to you guys, and once you hear it, you're going to immediately know what I'm talking about if you follow fishing. So there's a gentleman here that posts. He's got his own page, he's got his own stuff. Be sure to check him out, but if you want to. But I'm going to read the post. It says, had a cancellation for the next 2 days. From now on, every trip will require a $1,000 deposit. First to message me wanting a trip tomorrow or the next day gets it. $2,000 for an all-day trip. Okay? I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not going to go into the next part because the next part actually has some names and stuff, and I'm going to leave that part out. But basically, just the gist of it is that the gentleman had some guide trip scheduled. That's what we're going to with today's topic, is guide trip. So he had a guide trip scheduled, and apparently someone canceled. And he said that he's going to now have to require for a guide trip. And now for this particular guide trip, we're talking bass fishing. I'm going to kind of expand on that just a little bit, but for this particular trip, we're talking bass fishing. This guy wants a $1,000 deposit now. So basically, if you cancel on him, you're going to pay a $1,000 deposit, and that's his money regardless. So if you want to cancel, that's fine. He's still going to make $1,000 off you. But the first to message him, if you want a all-day trip, is $2,000. Now, this is to go catch bass. We're talking largemouth bass. It's primarily what he catches. He can catch a smallmouth too. Now, I want to just preface this by saying this, and I should have prefaced it in the preface part, but I didn't. The dude's a stick, okay? Like, he catches double-digit bass on every Tuesday, right? Like, this dude can catch fish. So when he makes this comment, he's understood his worth and his value, and he's determining to make it known that if you're going to mess around with his time, he's going to get $1,000 regardless, because I'm going to read to you a subsequent post that he put. He literally follows up with that because he saw what kind of happened when he put that post out there, putting the numbers. And we're going to dig a little deeper on those numbers, right? That's what I'm here to do for you guys today. Is on this podcast, my goal is to obviously it's the Coangler Chronicles, and we definitely talk about coanglers and help from there. But also we talk about fishing in general. So I've had several guests on here that are professional anglers, not professional anglers, anglers who just started fishing, anglers that used to. I mean, I've had a lot of different things on here, and I plan to have even more on here. Speaking of which, I'll take a second to tell you guys. Coming up, got a high school angler, got a female angler. It's just an angler, but we got a female angler. We got a YouTube anglers. We got some guys on YouTube that's doing really well on a YouTube channel. We got several of those things lined up here. I actually got another angler coming on. The fish is in my same division. He's literally right down the street from me. He's coming on here as well soon. So I'm very excited about this and who I'm going to be talking to. But like I said, I talk about everything on this podcast. So I appreciate you guys understanding that I like to cover a lot of different topics. And that's what we're doing today. But I'm going to follow up with the guy's post. So he says, you and your service are worth what people are willing to pay. $2,000 is a lot of money to me and most people, but to some it's just a drop in the bucket. I'm grateful I have some incredible clientele, and I'm sorry people feel the need to attack my prices. I'm out here making the best living I can for my family. Okay, so he followed it up. He got that much comments in response to that post that he felt the need to actually address what was going on. Now, this gentleman typically doesn't mind addressing literally anything, so he'll talk about what he needs to talk about. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying anything about what it is that he's doing. That my goal on here is not to talk about him, what it is that he does, diving into all the stuff that he's gotten into, topics that he touches on. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm merely bringing this up to talk about the price of getting out there and obtaining information on the water. That's kind of where I'm going with it for my perspective. So if you to kind of take it all the way back from what he said. Now, one of the main things that when you're becoming a co-angler in these tournaments is you want to compete. I want to make sure I stress that enough, that you want to compete. But you also want to gain knowledge. And that's one of the key things you want to do. You want to gain information and knowledge that can help you down the road as you further advance your bass fishing career. Whether that be you're going to take your boat out and you want some good spots to go or some good ways to approach certain things, you fish a BFL. You learn what you can learn in the BFL, then you go out on your own and expand on that information. If you want to take your grandson out, it's a new body of water, you have no idea what you're doing. You want to sign up for a BFL, get in there. Maybe you run into a couple. If you don't, guess what? You've now learned how to approach this body of water. You go back home, you get your tracker, and you come on back out there, take your kid, and y'all go out there and expand on what you found. During the middle of the week, there's no tournaments, nothing going on. You're not just stealing spots and taking everybody's spots and burning them up so nobody ever catches any fish. You're gathering information, and you use that information to go back out so that you can have a good day on the water. A lot of times as a co-angler, everybody does co-angling for different reasons. Some people want to obtain information. Some people just want to get out the house. Some people just got money to burn. They want to try something different, right? Like everybody does things for different reasons. The gentleman in the comment that I read said he's out here trying to provide the best living that he can for his family. I'm not here to debate that point of whether that is what it is or not what it is. That's on him. That's what he's trying to do. That's not what I'm here for. What I'm trying to tell you guys is everybody does something for a different reason. And the reason or logic behind what it is they're doing is really not our place to comment and try to dictate or throw our opinion on what it is that person's trying to do. That's not what this is about. Just kind of let people do what it is they want to do. They want to get information, they get information. They want to pay for the information, let them pay for the information. Now, we want to break down that number. He said he gets $2,000 a day, but he's saying that he catches double digits on a regular. He's consistently shown posts of him catching double digits, 12, 13, 10, 11, 9, 8. He says it's $2,000 to go out with him for a day. Okay, now think about this. If you could be guaranteed to a certain extent the chance to catch somewhere between a 6 and an 11-pound bass, and it will cost you $2,000 to do so. Oh, what do you think about that? Would you do it? You think so? Are you not sure? Okay, I understand that. All right, so thought we had a little opinion going on here, but no. So actually, he was cutting on my light, guys. Sorry about that. So would you spend $2,000 if you knew that you could get out and possibly break your personal best bass in one shot? Now, like I said, we want to dig a little deeper on this. Think about it. How much do you spend in rods and reels? If you just got decent quality stuff for rods and reels, you're talking $1,000, $2,000. If you just got 5, 6 nice combos, you've already spent that $2,000. Okay. Now we didn't even get into getting a boat. Let's say you just buy a little John boat that costs you $1,000 with a trolling motor on it. All right, we're already in the hole $3,000 and we have not caught a double digit at all. Okay, now you take into the fact that it might take you multiple trips to figure out what's going on, where you don't have a buddy who has a spot. I'm sorry. Now, are you able to spend, like, think about what you've already spent. We're already $3,000 in the hole relative to just getting out there, and we haven't even caught any fish yet. Okay, so multiple trips, multiple launch pass fees, multiple gas tank fill-ups, replacing rods and reels in case something goes wrong. You might be 5, 10, 15, and let alone you go out and buy a really nice bass boat thinking that that's going to help you catch these fish. So if you buy a $60,000 bass boat, $2,500 worth of rods and reels at a minimum, right? Multiple trips, $20 launch pass, buddies free pond, $20 launch pass. Guys, there's some people that are in the hole, maybe, and I don't want to say hole because that's not quite, you still enjoyed, you still caught fish, you did all that. But if your goal is a double-digit bass, like that one-time bass that you could get, you could be $65,000, $70,000 in the hole. You could be 60 years old and never have caught a double-digit bass. This guy's almost guaranteeing you that he's demonstrated on a consistent basis that he is around them and knows how to catch them for $2,000, for one chance to get out there, to get that fish, and to finally be like, I got my 10 or 11 pounder, right? Is it worth it? And I'm just posing it as a question. I'm not implying an opinion. I'm not saying, I'm just literally giving you different things. Now, if you have that buddy who has a pond that's got 10 plus pounders in it, you know, for one, hit me up, right? Okay, what's going on? Send me a message. Let's do this, right? But if you don't have that guy, or if you have that guy, and you can run over there on a Tuesday and catch your own double digit, then this doesn't make any sense to you, right? Paying $2,000 for something that you can just go to somewhere that you already know, or you're that guy. You're the guy that's consistently catching double digit bass. You just ain't telling everybody, and you don't have a guide service. You just steadily catching them and doing your thing. Then obviously this ain't going to make sense to you. If you always have that mindset that you can do it, and you're going to do it, and you're going to get it done yourself, then spending $2,000 on it ain't going to make sense to you, right? So there's multiple schools of thought regarding this particular issue. And I'm not saying either one of them is right or wrong. This one, guys, this podcast is going to be a little bit different because I don't really have an opinion per se on whether somebody's right, whether somebody's wrong. But we're actually going to take it a step further. Now, if this guy's saying you can do that, we just went through pros and cons, right? If this guy's saying he can do that, now, does it count? That was the issue I have. So I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. There's a gentleman that fishes out in Richmond. I met him at the Bassmaster Open. Real good dude, absolute stick. He can catch them. You can check his stats and all the whole deal, or just hop on his page and see how many times he's holding up a check or some nice bass. There's a gentleman who posted the comment. His name's Tev Rollins, right? So I'm gonna give a shout out to Tev on this one, because he's the one that put a comment up, just kind of asking for some questions or some feedback regarding to it. So Tev's asked, he asked a question, and I'm kind of just expanding on that question in this particular part of it. Now, is it the same if you catch a double digit on a guided trip where somebody has a rod, they have a reel, they have all that stuff, or they let you bring your own stuff, they pull up on a spot, they find the bass on live scope, they scan around, they tell you to cast over here, you cast over there, they watch the bait go down, they see the giant fish come to it, they tell you to set the hook, you set the hook, you catch it, you get in the boat. It's a double digit. It's 11 pounds. You weigh it on the scale. You take a picture. You smile, the whole nine. Is it the same? Like, does that feel the same? Did you actually accomplish the goal? Or is it still, there's some people out there that would see that and be like, well, you caught on a guided trip. That ain't nothing. How is that right to say to the person? They still caught the fish. They had some help. But how many times have we been helped in a BFL to catch a fish? The boater sees it and is like, hey, buddy, cast over there. If you catch that 2-pounder and go to the scale with that 2-pounder, it still counts. If you're in the BFL and you watching the fish on live scope, or you watching your favorite angler on TV and he's watching them on live scope, he sees his bait go down, he sets the hook with the live scope, because this is all live scope based, what this guy's doing. He might have did it before then, I don't know, I didn't dig that deep into him, but he's catching them with live scope. I'm pretty sure he probably caught him before live scope, but it's the same principle. You're watching the bait go down, you're setting the hook. Does it then negate the fact that there's like none of the fish catches are good? Now, I get it. If you're on a guide trip and you catch a giant fish with a guide helping you versus you going out, doing the research, planning, doing all this scouting around, catching a bunch of 5s and 6s, and then you yank into that 10 and you did it yourself. There's just something to be said about just in general, just fixing something yourself. Take a car, for example. Taking it to a mechanic, getting it done is fixed, right? It's good. That's good. But there's something about getting up underneath that car, looking, finding. Now, truth be told, for me personally, yes, I do find a thrill in that, but I also just feel like a car should work. If you pay some money for it, the car should probably work. It should probably start up and drive down the road. Shouldn't have to be up underneath of something looking for something if it's a car. Why the world are you paying $15,000 for something that don't want to start? Or they got a problem or leaking something or something. Like, that's a whole nother deal. I'm not going to get on that one because that actually will be a whole nother podcast on my thoughts on cars. You can just check my Instagram stories if you want to know my thoughts on cars. Okay, but I'm just saying, there's something to be said about getting something done yourself, coming up with an idea, making it happen. So I'll take a second here in the middle of the podcast to be sure to tell everybody to click on that link on Fiverr. Be sure to check that out. If you have an idea, if you wanted to design clothes, if you want to design t-shirts, what's part of clothes? If you wanted to, you have a website you want to get started. If you have a business and your business is not high enough in the rankings to where people click on and they want to search for your business, but your business isn't even pulling up in that top 20 page, when people come to town, they'll never come to your business. Click on that link. There's several people on there that can help rank your business higher in that. That way, when people come to town, they're like, I want to eat here. They type in food places near me, and your business shows up in those rankings. It all has to do with SEO and words, and they're even expanding on that. So be sure to check that out. But if you've ever wanted to do that, you need to check on this site and get that information, because it's going to help you turn that dream, that idea, that thought that you had into something that's actually physically able to be seen and felt and heard, right? Like, you'll have it right there, and you'll be able to kind of benefit from all your hard work, man. It's going to pay, because everybody, we know we can do stuff really good ourselves, but sometimes it helps to get a little bit of help to kind of maybe push it over the edge or kind of kickstart you and go in the right direction. So be sure to click on that link. But like I said, we're going over this thing. Like I said, Tad Rollins is the one that mentioned it. Figured I'd expand on it just a tad. So it feels different if you can do it yourself. I'm not knocking the fact that it feels different when you can do it yourself, but either way, you got it done. Now, my comment on this thing was, if you catch a double digit, no one really asks you, or if they ask you where you caught it from, we're all bass anglers. So we're going to tell you that we caught it in the water. We're not going to give you any information because we don't want you to go and catch the 10-pounder. Some people will, most people won't. Okay, some people will. I'm just saying that. But so unless somebody asks you information and then uses that information to then minimize your accomplishment, as long as that doesn't happen, then pretty much you catch a 10-pounder. Nobody cares where you caught the 10-pounder at. Just share your picture with the 10-pounder, blur out the background. Probably tell the guy not to share a picture of your face with the 10-pounder, and then just roll on with your life. Or if you just own it, like Gerald Swindle says it best, like, if you realize that you just a hillbilly from the country, just operate like a hillbilly from the country. Why are you hiding? Why are you wearing suits and ties and trying to be something that you're not? This is what you is. Like, this is what you are. Just be yourself, okay? You caught a fish. Guess what, guys? I paid for a guide trip. The guide put me on this 12-pounder. Here's a 12-pounder. You got something to say? Say it. Otherwise, this is my 12-pounder. I've achieved something that 90% of anglers never going to do. And then just ask them, what do you have to say? Like, there's nothing they're really going to say to you at that point, right? Understand that. Like, you caught the fish. You literally caught the fish. Now, unless the guide held your rod, hooked the fish, and then handed it to you, and then you reel it in and they hold it up and be like, oh my goodness, I caught this fish. Like, unless it's some tomfoolery like that. And even still, he's a guide. You know what? I'm not even going to knock that part. I'm not even going to knock that at all. He's still a guide. His job is to make his client's day and have a great day. So if he's a guy is struggling, you got a guy that can't cast, but he just wants to get out there and catch some fish, you might need to toss the bait out as a guide. Would you rather have somebody zero and have paid you $2,000 and they zeroed because they don't know what they're doing? Or would you rather put something in their hand to have it so they have a good day and so that they may come back and refer you to other friends, versus being like, I paid $2,000, I ain't catch nothing. You know they're going to run you down if they gave up that kind of money and they ain't get on no fish. So you better do everything you can as a guide to make sure they do. Now, I know some local guys. In particular, there's a guy, Chris Johnson, if you guys are familiar with Chris Johnson. Again, when I speak about people on here, I'm speaking because most of the time because I know them, or I'm just giving just enough information just to make sure that you're aware of them. But I know several local guides in this area, Thomas Harden, Chris Johnson. There's several guys out here that have guide services, and that's what they do. They put people on fish. Okay, that's the whole point of putting the boat in the water, is put people on fish. Now, what I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I did a little bit of research here, is prices, because that was the issue that a lot of people had with that post. So like I said, I can speak with this personal experience. I asked for a guide trip myself for Christmas, and my wife was so gracious. She blessed me with a guide trip for Christmas as one of my gifts. Now, I believe the price, this was for a full day, I believe a full day of musky fishing, and it cost $400, maybe $400 to $500 for a full day of musky fishing. You're talking to catch a fish of 10,000 casts, a 50-inch muskie possibly, which I did catch, by the way. Just want to point that out. A 50-inch muskie, and I caught a 47. So this guy, Sam Scott, Blue Ridge Muskie, phenomenal dude. Be sure to check him out as well. But I did catch both in one day, which never happens a lot of times, from what I'm told. I'm not a muskie fisherman. I've never gone muskie fishing since that day. I wanted to do it that day. It is not for me. I'm right back to bass fishing, but it's for a lot of people. And my hat's off to you guys that do that muskie fishing, because boy, that is a task. Y'all are some real ones, okay? Y'all out there throwing them big giant rods and giant baits. Hey, I'm telling you right now, you got my respect, 100%. Muskie fishermen is some pretty intense people, and it requires a lot of work to get that done. But I did it, and that was the cost. So we're talking muskie fishing with one of the best guides in this area, $500 full day. Now remember, the previous gentleman that we mentioned said $2,000 a day for bass. Okay, we just went from 500 to 2,000. Again, I'm leaving my opinion out of it. I'm just giving you numbers. Now I'm going to go up here. I have an average cost of a bass fishing charter. I looked it up on the web, on some results here. Google, okay? And you know how much you can trust Google, but it does give me some ranges. So the average cost for a bass fishing charter is $357. But it ranges from $243 to $500. Okay? Now we're going to go through 11 examples. This is the first thing that pulls up, so I'm going right here. Actually, you know what? I saw another article right beneath it that's better. Fishing rates for top fishing guides in the U.S. All right? Now this says all day. There's a fishing guy out here, fishing rates. Half a day, $299. 3/4 of a day, which is 6 hours, $349. All day, 12 hours, $675. To bring a buddy along on the same day, $100. So you can do all day, $675, plus a buddy for $100. $775 is what this is cost. And what you get included: clean, updated vessel, safety gear, licensed captain, all rods and reels, all bait and tackle, free cooler, ice, and bottled water. And they require a $75 deposit to reserve your spot. And you got to give a 2-day notice if you want to cancel. So the previous gentleman says, and they got pictures of giant bass on here, right? The previous gentleman said it was a $1,000 deposit, $2,000 for the day. Now, this is one of the top rated deals out here that I'm looking at, which would end up being $775 for a 12-hour day, is at the top of what they have. And the other guy said $2K. That's why people lost their mind when they saw those numbers. Because typically you can pay under $1,000 and you get the whole day. So he says $2,000 for one day. Yes, it's going to hit some people a little bit sideways, because they're like, but I can pay $775. The previous one I mentioned to you guys said $499 for a full day. Okay, as the top end of that spectrum was $499. So the reason why a lot of that came on there is just based on the numbers. But a lot of times is what you hear. So for example, you go to a mechanic, like I did this. I went to a mechanic and they gave me a number. We can do it about $300. I called another mechanic and he said it would be about $1,200. So of course I hung up. There was no need to discuss any further. $300, $1,200. It's kind of the same thing. You hear $500 and then you hear $2,000 and you're like, $2,000? That's a lot. But then you got to look at what he's offering. Okay, he's saying that he's in the realm of double digits on a consistent basis. He's shown that on a consistent basis. And he basically, the way I see it, and because I'm a musician, the way I've kind of factored my life is that you're literally worth whatever someone's willing to pay for you. Okay, like There's some people that only want to pay musicians $50 and think that they're doing too much. There's other people that want to pay you $1,000 and think that they're not doing enough. So you're literally you're literally worth whatever somebody's willing to pay. But then it's up to you to determine kind of where that goes. Because think about it: if one person catches wind of, hey, I let this go for 1,000, I gotta charter with him for 1,000, and then 1,000 starts to get around, now you're worth 1,000. See what I'm saying? Because the 1,000 got out there, and now people say 1,000. So then when you say 1,200, the first thing they say is, well, my buddy said he did it for 1,000. Oh, well, yeah, that was on that day. Well, if I can get 1,000, I'll make it work. But 1,200, I don't know, man. And then people like seem to be like naturally wanting to kind of debate whatever numbers are, because it's just how we are as people. We always want to try to get something for less. And then some people are always, you're trying to set yourself up for being worth more. So you're kind of like, you kind of got to get your numbers out there, let people know what it is. And then if you're willing to, they teach you this in a lot of these sales classes. You set your number, and once you set it, if you're willing to set it, then you may have to sit back and wait till somebody's willing to pay it. And when they pay it, you demonstrate the value of why you're worth that much. You make a killer product. You get it out there the way it needs to be out there, and then you got to kind of hope someone else comes, or hope that person tells someone else that, hey, dude, I went out with him. I paid $2K. I caught an 11-pounder. It was phenomenal. And I caught like 3 8-pounders, dude. So like I would totally do that again, right? That word gets out there. Now your 2K looks like chump change to some people, because the possibility in front of them is 11-pounder. Okay, so it comes into where it may actually be in the realm of, you know what? I was about to drop $600 on this rod and $500 on this reel. You know what? I'll hold off on that. That's $1,100. I'll wait like one more week, maybe save on a little something else here. And now I got my 2K. When is my trip? And let's get it. Because now I pay 2K. I get a chance to go out and learn with this guy about the live scope, get the information about the live scope, how he's looking for fish, what's going on. He's a guide. He's going to probably show you all kinds of stuff because he wants to demonstrate, again, his value and why you're paying that money. And then he wants you to catch a giant fish as well. So he's going to do everything he can to make sure that you're having a good trip. And if he doesn't, you got to let him know. You paid 2K. Where's them 10-pounders at? Like, come on, man. Or if you catch a 9, 8, for me, it's got to be bigger than a 7, because a 7 is my personal best. If I'm paying 2K, I'm hoping that I'm going to catch an 8. But if I don't think there's any guarantees in any of this, right? It's bass fishing. It's still bass fishing. It's still like, you still got to get out there and catch the fish. There's still, whenever you're dealing with an animal, you kind of got to, you're going to have to rely on that animal has to play ball that day. Otherwise, it might not be. You might get to 6 and a 4. But still, you paid for the trip. You got the information. Take away what you can, and then we've all made some investments that we probably wish that, like, I wish I hadn't paid the $2,000 for that. Man, I wish I hadn't bought that. Oh, man, I can't believe I did that. Right? Like, we've all done that. So that's kind of an implied risk if you're going to do certain things, that you may be throwing your money, as me and my buddies called it, you may be dump trucking your money into a fire. It may be something that you're doing. Matter of fact, that's actually great. Maybe dump trucking your money into a fire. Huge shouts out to my work buddies, because that's the one that we came up with there. We used to say that all the time. You may be doing that, but you also may take off, because you might catch that double digit. Who knows what comes after that? You obviously could tell all your buddies. You got that picture on your phone. You can show everybody, look, remember when I caught this? And then if there's that guy there that's be like, yeah, I remember you caught on that guide trip. That doesn't really count. Come on, man. Are we listening to that guy anyway? Does that guy control your life? Like, is he gonna run you down the streets and tell everybody that you caught on a guide? That fish don't count. It's on a guide trip. Like, come on, man. I think we can all shake that guy and then just enjoy ourselves. And if we got that one friend in our circle, it's probably a good idea that we did catch that fish. That way we got him to show himself, so we can kick his butt about the circle. All right, that's just facts. I'm giving y'all some life advice right here. If you got that one buddy that his whole life revolves around running you down, but he keeps showing up to all your friend events, it maybe it's good time that you figure out who he is, and then you realize why you haven't gone nowhere, because you got this clown constantly running you down left and right. Every time you turn around, everything you do, he's always got something to say about he could have did it better, or that wasn't good enough, or something like that. Maybe you get that guy out there, right? Okay, sorry guys, a little mid rant podcast style, but I feel like breaking down the numbers, going through the data, things like that, guys, it's like I said, I'm not really making an opinion on this one. I just feel like I wanted to get the information out there. I'd love for you all to get in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this particular topic. With this one, I'm trying to do the same as I did last one. I don't want it to be too long. I want you guys to be able to enjoy the video, watch it, share with your friends or buddies. Leave a comment. That's what I really need, guys. I really need some more comments on these videos. I want to interact. I want to talk to you guys about these things. And that's if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, finish, then go over to YouTube and then still leave a comment. Okay, do it that way. All right, or leave something in the review section on the podcast. If you're enjoying the podcast, I appreciate a review saying you're enjoying it. If there's something I could do better, I'd love to hear that too. I feel like as I get through this, we're learning. Right, I'm literally on episode, I think this might be 10. Right, like I got a lot more to go. I checked out Low Budget Live the other day, and Luke Duncan's on podcast number 200, and he interviewed Jacob Wheeler talking about the brand new boat Jacob Wheeler built. Like, there's levels to this, right? You're trying to get somewhere, you're trying to go somewhere, and I'm literally just starting. And I apologize on this one. I'm dropping a little bit late today, so I apologize on that, but it is coming. I certainly appreciate you all's patience. I want to thank you all for tuning in. That's all I got for this topic today. We're talking about the rate. Is $2,000 for a guide trip too expensive? That's kind of where I went with this. Is it too expensive? Should you care? Does it matter? Okay, like I kind of broke down the numbers, gave you the pros and cons of it, whether you should, whether you shouldn't. At the end of the day, it's up to you, man. It's your money, right? It's your life. It's what you want to do with it. If you got 2K to burn, even if you ain't got 2K to burn, we've all saved up money and did something that we want to do. Is this that one thing that you want to do? You see what I'm saying? So if it is and you want to, then I suggest you do it, because otherwise you won't, and you may not ever get that double digit. This could be one chance at getting a double digit. If you're not, then you better keep your head down and keep going after it, right? Until you get it yourself. That's fine. Or there might be another guy out there that's offering a different. Just look around, right? Like just search, do some research, figure out what it is you can do, and then make it happen, all right? But I appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you guys for the support on the podcast. I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, everything like that, all the feedback I've been getting, talking to people about the podcast. It's pretty amazing. Like I mentioned, I got a phenomenal lineup coming up with people. Hope that you guys keep on rocking with me. Ladies, keep on rocking with me. I appreciate it. You all have been amazing. Thank you for another episode. And I will catch you guys on the next one. As always, last thing, I do now, and this is what actually checks on. I do now lives on TikTok, right? I'm going to be live pretty much daily on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, follow me at Bassandfurious. Check out the lives. I have a weekly schedule planned out. It's going to be kicking off next week. We're going to go for it. All in on TikTok. I want to see you guys there. Get in the comments. I do. That's why I have a sign up here. This is all for my TikTok. I have a sign up here. I do giveaways periodically for gifts. I do giveaways. And also, too, I hop on YouTube Live. I hop on Instagram Live. Any support you guys can send my way, I certainly appreciate it. I want to keep doing these videos. I want to keep making the content. Keep touching on these issues that people don't want to touch on. Putting them right out here in the front and seeing what people got to say about it. So, I appreciate it. Be sure to check me out there on Instagram as well. On the YouTube Live, when I cut it on, hop on in there. I appreciate you. And I will catch you guys on the next one. As always, peace, peace. I'm out.